Welcome everyone, Costin here with a discussion about the new world, my first impressions, my early game impressions playing the closed beta, which you can get access to if you purchase the game right now. Now, I had this game recommended to me by several people in my World of Warcraft guild, and my World of Warcraft guild is, well, pretty sweaty, you would say. And if those people can find fun and enjoyment playing this particular game, then I said, what the hell, let's check it out. And so far, I have to say, although there are certainly some things about the way this game is designed that don't necessarily appeal to me, like the whole gathering system or the whole crafting system, all that. I'm just not a big survival type game fan. Although those things don't appeal to me, the combat and the world, the setting certainly do. It's a more down-to-earth setting, even though you have magic and zombies and all that kind of stuff. It's a more, let's say, I guess you could say realistic game. It's like colonial era game where the new world, where the Americas instead are this island, which has some really weird stuff happening on it, and people can't die. You're effectively immortal, but there's more to it than just that. It's complicated, and it's also interesting how you deal with that. The way the game is played, you don't have character classes, you have weapon specializations. So dependent on the weapon you use, you have a different kind of playstyle. You can use any weapon, and you also have to level it up by using it. So everything you do in this game, you have to do more of it. You wanna get your skill up in logging, you need to chop down trees. You want to get your musket skill up, you need to shoot things, and so on. You want to get your cooking skill, you need to cook. So everything is based around doing more of that stuff. It kind of reminds me in a way of Skyrim, though the combat system is, as some people have mentioned it to me, the combat system feels more something like Dark Souls, or maybe Bloodborne would probably be more appropriate. And that creates a pretty interesting combination for a title. So as I said, you have weapon skills. Weapon skills, like there are certain statistics, you have strength, dexterity, intelligence, all that kind of stuff, that will give you different benefits. But there's beyond just like weapon skills, but you also have certain skills tied to weapons. So for instance, for sword and shield, it scales with strength and dexterity. Great axe scales with strength. Warhammer, strength, hatchet. And you have all of these weapon skills: one-handed weapons, two-handed weapons, ranged weapons, and magic. Different kind of magical weapons. And as stated, if you want to improve your skill with a particular weapon, you have to use that weapon. I've been playing around with pretty much any weapon that is good and has been worth using. Though I have to say, I am pretty partial to the spear. I really like the spear in this game. I like the animations. I like how it feels. It certainly is a very, very nice feeling in the way that they've done it. Actually feels like a spear, which is something a lot of video games fail at, making spear combat feel interesting. It would be nice to have spear and shield, because that has been a thing historically, a pretty important thing. But hey, baby steps, right? In the gaming industry, that's how you have to treat it. Also looks nice. It's certainly a good-looking game. Performance is all over the place though, and I think the game has a bit of a memory leak. Like, I've certainly had crashes, and I've actually had the issue where not only would the game crash, but my memory would be so pushed to the limit that other programs like a browser or OBS or anything like that would also start crashing. So I think performance is all over the place. And also, the hit detection in the game that this game uses when it comes to detecting your hits against enemies could certainly use some work. I mean, it is a closed beta. It's still a beta for a reason. But I think a lot of the issues that the game currently has right now could be broken down to server issues. Like there's some serious server issues right now with the game. One of the more annoying problems that actually comes up is sometimes we get this issue, and I've seen it happen several times already, but sometimes we get this issue where enemies in an entire zone will stop spawning. So hey, you want a quest? You want a quest in a zone? You want to do stuff in a zone? Good luck, tough luck with that. You might have to, like, the first character I created on that particular server, the enemies in the very first quest that you get once you get past the tutorial area, there's like a self-contained tutorial area. But once you get done with that, once you actually enter the open world, those enemies, there's quests where you're supposed to kill some undead enemies and they just wouldn't spawn. So I created a new character on a different realm. And that worked just fine. But then later on, I had the issue come up again where enemies in the zone I was in would not spawn. And that can feel frustrating. It's such a weird issue, and there's weird issues like that. Like, I feel the game has potential, and I certainly think it has potential if it has endgame PvE content. Because here's the thing about MMORPGs. There's a huge crowd of people, right, who will say, oh, we want PvP. But there's just as many, if not more people, who what they're really looking for is a PvE-focused MMO. Focused on dungeon content, because people like myself, what we want is a game where we have bosses to slay, interesting dungeons to explore and clear, and we want to do that for months and months on end. That's what where we get together a couple of days every week and we do that. Whether or not this game has that, well, that remains to be seen. I mean, some people are really interested in the open world aspect. I can get that. I understand that. But I think whether or not this game will be successful will ultimately come down to whether or not it has the end game content. It feels nice, it looks nice, it has some things it needs to resolve, the performance issues, the server stability issues. But right now, I do think it's a very fun and enjoyable game. I'm certainly having a blast, even though right now all I'm doing is trying to find some silver ore, which I can't detect. And oh, what is that? Level 23 landmark. Ghosts in the distance. That's certainly interesting. Yeah, I have a main quest. Like, you have a quest chain that you want to do in order to, I guess, unlock the group content to the best of my understanding. But in order to do that, you need to in order to unlock that content, you need to do that quest chain. But now I'm at a point where it's like, oh, go get some silver ingots. If there's a complaint I have about that particular quest chain, is that there's so much traipsing around, right? It's not the focus chain. It's like, oh, go around the world and do this and then do that and move halfway across the world, then go back where you were. That can feel very frustrating. That can feel very annoying, and that's certainly been a source of frustration for me personally. That one of the things the game seems to lack is a focus in its storyline. I mean, there's some interesting lore, there's some interesting stuff happening, but what isn't interesting is having a main quest chain where it's like, oh, go here, kill a bunch of dudes that are very easy to deal with, and then you get stuck on a point because you need certain items that you can only acquire once you have a certain high enough profession level. That can feel really, really annoying. Like right now, I do have access to being able to get silver, but I needed to level my mining for that. And before that, you may need to get your harvesting skill up, so you can harvest some weeds, so you can make a potion. And outside, like the quests themselves, the objectives themselves of this main quest aren't particularly interesting, but it's like there's just a lot of time-consuming stuff you have to do. Not particularly interesting. Like the moment-to-moment gameplay, the smaller quests, yeah, that's fine. Right, but the main chain that you want to do, you have to do if you want to unlock access to the group content, by the looks of it, that isn't as good or as well thought out. It just feels like unnecessarily grindy. Also, on top of that, it does require a certain high level. Like, it's basically the game saying, oh, you want to unlock this amount of content? Well, you better get used to the idea that you're going to have to grind to a certain degree, and then you can do it. That's how it feels like. And until you get to that point, you're just basically messing around, doing various side stuff that you want to do, to be clear. Like, there's rewards, reputations, all that kind of stuff that you want to do, but I would prefer a more focused approach and a better approach when it came to the main quest line. That would be my chief complaint in terms of like how the game actually plays out. Because aside of that, it's like the actual like moment-to-moment combat, the gameplay, the challenges, all that. The way my character feels, the way the traverser of the world feels, that's good. Enemies don't deal well with verticality, it has to be said though. So it's like if you're attacking someone or getting an attack, or someone wants to attack you from top, that from a heightened position, that can cause quite a few issues. So that's not great. The verticality certainly has some problems. I think the pathfinding or the hit detection in general could certainly use some work the way I'm seeing it at the moment. But yeah, the game has a lot of potential. I think certainly going to be an interesting one. What I'm wondering right now, as a WoW player, is Blizzard really going to release, say, the next batch of content for Burning Crusade Classic just to mess at about the same time that this game is coming out, the full release of this game is coming out, just to try and mess with it. I mean, that's something Blizzard has done in the past. We'll have to wait and see. It might screw them over, it might not. We'll see. But yeah, I'd say it has a lot of potential. Whether or not it's gonna be the next big thing, the next big MMO, that's a different discussion. Christine here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.